Hi, welcome to Tour with Lisa. Today's virtual tour is of the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. A lot of times when I bring groups to this memorial, we've just visited the Vietnam War Memorial, and I ask my groups, when was the Korean War? And a lot of them don't have an answer for that. So that could be why it's called the Forgotten War. This war was actually sandwiched between World War II and the Vietnam War. So the actual dates were June 25th of 1950 to July 27th of 1953. Now, why did this happen? What was this conflict about? Well, after World War II, Korea was under the occupation of the United States and of Russia. Prior to that, it had been occupied by Japan. Now, we all know that Russia is communist, and of course, the United States is anti-communist. So the northern part of Korea, which was occupied by Russia, remained communist, while the lower part, the southern part, was under the influence of the United States, and so we're anti-communist. So that is kind of where the problem begins. The war begins when North Korea crosses over the 38th parallel. The 38th parallel is what divided North Korea from South Korea. So that invasion crossed over. So because we and other nations were afraid of communism spreading, we wanted to stop this. So this is kind of one of the reasons why the war began. This also was the first war where we had the United Nations. So the United Nations all pulled together in this conflict. So as we enter the memorial, it's kind of in a triangular shape. The first thing that you're going to notice are the backs of the statues, because we're going to walk down to the point of the triangle, and as we're walking by, turn around and look at the statues. There's 19 statues, and they're depicting every race that we have in America. There's a Caucasian, there's a Hispanic, there's an Afro-American, a Native American, and an Asian American. We also are depicting the Army. There's 14 Army men, there's 3 Marines, 1 Navy, and 1 Air Force. Now, the thing about this memorial, one of the reasons why I like this memorial so much, is the feeling that you get. Because when you're walking by the statues, they're coming out of the woods and into rice paddies. And you can see the expressions on their face. The statues are just a little over 7 foot tall. But you can tell by looking at them that they're weary, they're tired, they're hungry, they're cold, and you just know they want to go home. So the expressions on their faces, to me, is what makes this memorial so special. It gives you more feeling, more empathy towards those soldiers. The sculptor of the soldiers was a man named Frank Gaylord. He was a veteran of World War II, and he actually won a Bronze Star at the Battle of the Bulge. When he was sculpting the statues, he remembered faces of his friends from the war. And rumor has it that he actually sculpted himself into one of the statues. Now, I'm not 100% sure of this fact. I have asked one of the National Park Service guides at the memorial if this is true, and I was told that it was by a couple different ones. And I usually think they're the gold standard of getting the correct information. So anytime you're at any of the memorials, if you see one of the park rangers, talk to them. They are a wealth of information. So anyway, these soldiers also, other than their expressions, they've got these ponchos on. So you know that if they're in a cold rain, and they've got these heavy backpack on their backs, which could weigh as much as 70 pounds. So it gives you a lot of feeling for them. So you walk up towards the apex of the memorial to the point, and then on the other side, as you're walking up, there's a low wall, and on that wall there's a list of all the nations that contributed in this war. There were 22 nations that participated. 17 of them supplied soldiers. So others may have contributed by supplying money or supplying weapons, but somehow 22 nations contributed in one way or another. And like I said, this was the first war that we had the United Nations. So once you get to the apex of the memorial, at the very, very top, there's you'll find in the ground and laid in the ground a quote, and it says, "Our nation honors his sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met." And another quote says, "Freedom is not free," which is one of my favorite quotes concerning war. Now, as you're going to walk back down toward the triangle, there's a granite wall, very shiny granite, and you'll see kind of holographic looking images that are engraved on this wall. Those are over 2,400 images that were taken from the National Archives. So they depict people in other roles like mechanics, cooks, different roles of the people that participated in this war. Now, one of the unique things about that wall is those photographs that were taken from the archives, you may not know that you're actually on the wall because there was no, like we're going to get permission from this or, who's this guy or whatever, finding out who these people were. They just put them on the wall. So it has been true that there have been people that have come to the memorial and seen themselves on the wall. One cute story was that there was a couple that were engaged to be married before he went off to serve in the Korean War. Now, when he came home, unfortunately, his bride or his fiance had married somebody else. So he ends up marrying somebody else. They live long, happy lives, and then their respective spouses pass away. They get back together. They come visit this memorial, and she recognizes him on the wall. And I thought, oh, well, that's probably not true. But I asked one of my trusted sources, one of the park rangers. He says, oh, yeah, that did happen. So very interesting. Anyway, that is one more thing about the Korean War Memorial is they just started a new addition to the memorial. They're going to list the over 54,000 names of soldiers that died in the conflict. And that's probably going to be about a 1.5 year long project. So looking forward to seeing that. They're going to, kind of update it, clean it, and, take care of all the maintenance on it as well. So go to Washington, D.C., visit all the memorials, and of course, do not miss the Korean War Memorial. My father fought during the Korean War, and so that memorial is also special to me for that reason. So thank you for watching Tour with Lisa, and I'll catch you on the next video.